I think we'll get started. As Lauren mentioned, she's muted people, so just come off mute when you want to discuss something. I did put an agenda in the meeting notes, but sometimes not everybody sees that, so there is an agenda in there if you want to look at that quickly. And I will say I'll welcome, we've got Brett Jackson here, USA Curling Chair is on with us. Craig Perry, Chief Operating Officer of USA Curling is on, and Lauren Rich from Member Services. I think we might have Jenna and Mackenzie from USA Curling as well. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll open up and then I'll throw it to Brett just for a quick word. But I just want to say thanks to all of you for taking on this role and representing your clubs at what I hope will be a valuable format for USA Curling to exchange information with clubs, get information back, and really find out how we can work a little more closely and perhaps more efficiently and perhaps better with our member clubs going forward. So that I'll throw it over to Brett real quick if he wants to add a few things, and then we'll jump right in.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Just wanted to say thank you and really much appreciate the time that you're taking to contribute to your club and to USA Curling. As Dean said, we do want this to be a two-way street. There are a lot of ways that we're taking advantage of to communicate to all of you. This is one of the ways, and what I think is a valuable way for all of you to communicate back up to us on what your needs and expectations are for USA Curling. So again, thanks for taking the time tonight and going into the future.
Thanks, Brett. So before we get started, I'm going to try to keep these meetings as we go forward to an hour. And that's not because I want to curtail any debate or discussion. If they go more than an hour, that's fine. It's just our experience with, I value your time, and I know that we'll start to lose people who are good contributors if we start to have meetings that run long all the time. So in that spirit, it might be nice if we could do introductions, but quickly. I'm trying to think how many people do we have on. I'm worried that might take an hour. So if we don't think we need introductions, and I'm going to suggest we don't right now, unless somebody is dying for introductions, please voice that. I think we can see who's on, but I think if we go through, we'll run in, that'll be a 10-minute process or so. So you can see everybody in the sidebar there. So one of the things I want to talk about is just the scope of responsibilities for both us in this, and then I want to hear from all of you about what you see your responsibilities should be or you would like them to be. So for us, what we see this as is not suggesting that what I don't want to do is turn you into sort of marketing shills for USA Curling back at your club. That's not the intent here at all. I do hope that with this group, if there are issues and you can at least hear the USA Curling point of view, take it back to your home club and express that maybe in a way that we haven't. And we're trying to do a better job. I hope you've noticed of communicating more. But as you all know, even at your own clubs, what can happen. Some, things get, the communication isn't always clear to everybody else, or people just miss it because we're all busy and you don't notice something. So that's my idea, is that we'll talk, we'll ask you to share information with your clubs about USA Curling. One thing, for just as an example, would be the membership model. If we were doing that and this was in place, would have had you go back and talk about that a bit, or at least inform your president, your board. And then from all of you, I'd like it to be a place where you can come forward and voice concerns or bring ideas. I make no secret of the fact that we're more than happy to steal ideas from everywhere. So if there are ideas at your club or ideas that you have that you think could help curling in general or USA Curling, please, this would be a great forum to share those. With that, I'll throw it out to anybody else just for a second here, not just for a second, but in terms of if anybody wants to voice an opinion about what you think this group should be like, this would be a great time to do that. It's a large group, but I think if you want to jump in, I'm not always the best at using a hand raise, but if you can do that, that's great. If anybody wants to share that now, that would be awesome. Otherwise, we'll go through share some ideas on how we all think this group could operate most efficiently and effectively. Is anybody at their curling club? No? All right. Trying to think how many people I can get. So there's a hand up, Christopher. Yep. Go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, a couple of us are at Racine Curling Club here in Wisconsin. So we just finished another meeting and decided to stay. So we're at the club.
Okay.
And Dean, this is Phil Bruce. I am at Cape Cod, and I'm actually going on the ice in about a half hour. But both of our reps are in this meeting, so Liz will be able to catch whatever I miss.
Perfect. And that's a good point. Phil, one of the reasons we wanted 2 reps of different genders. One, we want to hear, from all voices, or at least 2 voices. But the other thing is, I think you should all feel like if you can't make it and the other person can, that's fine, right? So takes a little bit of pressure off versus having just 1 rep. If you're both on, terrific. But that's a reason why we want to have 2 reps. So in terms of operating approaches, I've talked a little bit about just meeting duration. I would like to keep these to an hour. Again, if there's not going to be, it's not like you're going to get a message that says your meeting is ended at an hour by any means, but I think that will be helpful. The thing I would like to think of, any suggestions or feedback people might have on how it's a large group, obviously. So one of the things I'd like to do is have, submit thoughts for agendas well in advance from this group. So I think that would be great if we set a cutoff date, say 2 weeks before the meeting, submit agenda questions, items, and we'll put those in the agenda and then circulate it again just to make it more efficient. I guess the other question is just timing. We initially had set this on Tuesday, when we initially said on Wednesday. We made a bit of a false start and said Tuesday, but I doubt there's going to be any weeknight that would be perfect for everybody. But I curl on Monday nights, so if I'm going to be here, Monday nights aren't going to be great. But other than that, I think we could do the second Wednesday of every month, and then maybe in the non-traditional curling season, we move to every other month. Or we can always have it every month if we think that's required. So, I have no problem with every month, but I was thinking the second Wednesday of every month. If somebody has issues with that, or they think that we should be more flexible, just speak up. And again, if it doesn't work for you, but it works for your rep, or maybe it works for you more 1 month than another, I think that's fine for your partner rep. I mean, and then the other thing is, I would love. Sorry, somebody have their hand up? No. I would love it if somebody from this group was willing to step forward as a secretary and keep some sort of loose minutes. We will record everything, but it might be good if we had some. We're not exactly going to follow, Robert's Rules of Order and so it's not like you have to note who motioned and seconded, etc. But it would be great if there was somebody who could, shortly after a meeting, at least put out like a brief 1-pager of what was discussed. So if anybody is excited to do something of that nature, and I know not everybody is, including myself. So anybody, if you put your hand up, you're stuck. So far, no hands. Oh, Brian. I knew I could wait him out. I was staring at him down the bottom left. All right, Brian. Thank you, sir. All right, so Brian will be our secretary. And again, I think it's just Brian having some sort of summary of what we discussed and maybe reflect what the general opinions of the group were. All right, so we solved that. The other thing I'm going to do is establish a team in Microsoft 365. We're on Microsoft. Invite all of you to that. I will preface it by saying we did that with the Arena Club Working Group, and as Lauren can attest, sometimes it's worked well, sometimes people have struggled a bit with it, but we will get that set up, and we'll be able to, hopefully share files and information, etc., in there as necessary. Covered best meeting times. So the thing I'd really like to throw out too, it's not exactly in the agenda, but is we can talk about how to submit agenda items in the last 2 points in a moment. But if there are questions you have right now, not just about this group, but about anything we're doing at USA Curling, that'd be terrific. And it's including if you have questions about the new membership model, or if you can give us any feedback on how that model's been received so far. Looks like, Brian, that might have been your hand up from before. Is that now? Okay, Phil has his hand up then. So go ahead, Phil. Phil from Cape Cod.
Yeah, Dean, I just wanted to get on with this before I had to take off.
Sure.
But at my club, one of the concerns that has been raised is USA Curling's track record with DEI and what initiatives they're going to be taking with that.
It's a great question, Phil. And yeah, our track record with DEI, whatever it might be. But so we just recently were awarded a grant from the Chicago Community Trust, and some of that grant money is going towards DEI efforts. And I don't know if anybody here knows Deb Martin, but I've talked to Deb about how we might use that, and she is working on a proposal to me to reconstitute a group that we could work on DEI efforts. So it is on the agenda. We are planning for our staff and board some more unconscious bias training in January, but DEI efforts are definitely on the agenda for this year, and it will be nice to have some dollars that we can put behind those efforts as well. So I don't have much more to tell you right now, Phil, than that. I will say last year, DEI efforts obviously were not top of mind all the time. And not that they were not top of mind, but not top on the to-do list. Let's put it that way. But it's important for us, and we're going to, ramp that back up.
Thank you.
I know Brian, Brian's been involved in some of those efforts in the past, and I'm hoping that, I know Deb and I talked about bringing Brian back in, so he might have to resign as secretary already once we load him up with that work. But yeah, so you know what, the previously in my actually before I even was starting to work for USA Curling, I'd started working with Deb Martin on this Icebreakers program that quite honestly progressed in more fits than starts. And then, we did learn a few things about that, including the fact that we need some money for it. So the money will be helpful. We've also had pretty good conversations with Rich Norman, who does this work for Curling Canada and is with United We Curl in Canada. So there may be things, programs there that we can, not to say that the two countries are exactly alike by any means, but there are programs there that we may be able to adopt or refashion. We're always looking to use resources throughout curling rather than trying to invent everything right away. Has anybody had questions or concerns at their club about the membership model and its implementation? Lauren Rich in Member Services has been doing a great job of implementing it in year one, and I appreciate all the clubs that have submitted rosters and dealt with. It's a different timetable this year, and that's been appreciated. But all in all, it's going pretty well. We've got a few hiccups. Go ahead, Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda from the Columbus Curling Club in Ohio. One of the questions that have come up in our membership is how to change a member tier once you've purchased it. For example, if they get a basic and then they decide they want to start doing some competitive or coaching work. Is that on them? Is that on the club? How is that sort of handled?
So they can do that directly through their My USA Curling profile. And most clubs that, we have some clubs that are just joining as member clubs and not collecting individual dues. Obviously, we love the other scenario where clubs are also collecting dues for us. Most of those clubs that are collecting dues are collecting the basic membership only, and then having competitors upgrade upgrades on the online, whether it's to the premium membership or competitor, or don't be afraid to go for the gold. Don't. So any of those upgrades are more than welcome. I don't know if Lauren has it. There's been a few hiccups that Lauren could, and a lot of it has just been related to timing. And I don't know if Lauren, if you want to, some of these things will be resolved a lot in year 2 of this, but there have been a few timing issues in year 1.
Yeah, so the biggest hiccup with timing in year 1 has been people who want to register for a competition but don't have a competitor membership, and they're going to get a basic membership through their club, but their club hadn't submitted a roster yet. So I think I'm through most of the rosters. I think most people have gotten through this this difficulty so far this year. But if you do want to change your membership type, if you want to go from basic to competitor or to premium, you can do that in your, like Dean said, your My USA Curling profile. Basically, you can just log in, click on View Profile, and then your membership. And then you'll have an individual membership line item, and you can click on that, and it'll give you the option to change your membership type. If you have any problems with any of that, there is a contact support button at the bottom of the screen. And I have a number of help articles under the membership section for that will kind of walk you through various conditions of that change membership type scenario. But if you need any additional help with that, if you submit a ticket through that, it comes to me, so I can hopefully help you with that if you need more.
Yes. So, yeah, Stephanie from Midland asked about the timeline, and that will be better in year 2. If you look in the chat, Lauren, will be better in year 2 because those memberships would still be active, right? So, the November 30th won't matter the way it's created problems this year.
It'll still be a little bit of an impact next year because people need the competitor membership to be valid when the event takes place. So if their memberships expire on November 30th, they would still have to renew before they can register for the next event. But we're hoping to, once we're through year 1, we're going to figure out if there's any improvements that we can make to that, if you guys have suggestions for how to improve that. And hopefully clubs will, I think we had a lot of success, and maybe it was more work for you guys, but I appreciated it if you guys submitted rosters of people who you knew wanted to compete ahead of time and separately. So when I got those in October and early November, I was able to get those members squared away early enough for them to get their competitor memberships and registrations done in time for the registration. So hopefully, if we see a little more of that next year, that can maybe help things go a little bit smoother as well.
Jim from Frogtown.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to give you all kudos for re-examining the membership model and putting out there what you did. It made a difference at Frogtown. We obviously have joined now USA Curling, and we're still we're not taking memberships through the club. The plan is to offer that as an option next year. So we're allowing individual members to make that decision. But again, the change in the way you all are doing it is the impetus behind us joining this year. So good job on that.
Appreciate that, Jim, and glad to have you back. Hey, Lauren, can you maybe, just so everybody on here understands when they go back to their club, so the process that we go through is the club submits their roster and their desire to be a member club, and then?
So in most cases, yes, a club submits a roster, and I have a link that I've shared with clubs, and they populate a spreadsheet with all of their members that they want to be USA Curling members. And then when I receive that roster, and I'm in the process of doing this right now, so if your club has submitted a roster and you don't have an updated membership, I probably just haven't gotten to it yet, but I will renew all of those memberships and apply all of the new memberships for all of your new members, and then send the club an invoice. That invoice is due within 30 days of when I send it. So the clock on the invoice doesn't start until I've already processed that whole roster and gotten all of your members registered and everything, and then gotten you the invoice, and then the clock starts.
But we're making those people, we're not waiting the 30 days before payment to make those people members either. That's
right. Which is kind of how it had been done, I believe, in the past, was that people we uploaded the roster and processed those memberships after the payment was received by us.
So we've decided we're pretty confident clubs are going to pay us. So we're making people members as soon as they submit rosters. I'll get to that question in the chat, but John from Long Island's had his hand up. So John, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just jumped ahead of my clubmate. Hi, Elizabeth. With the chat question. One thing I saw, and if this is not the right place to ask this, that's cool. Just point me in the right direction. But as far as like insurance, I know, especially because we have a number of members who are dual members, second clubs, and are not submitted on our roster. I'm just looking at the coverage details and, for general liability here, who's covered all USC member clubs, their members who are, and their members who are USA Curling members. Clubs in good standing with the USCA receive general liability at no charge and ensure that their members are all USCA Curling members. Now, it also says it also covers, 1 day, 2 to 3, 4 week learn to curl events, league participants, all of that. And then similar for medical, covers pretty much everybody who steps on the ice, USCA member clubs. And basically, I just want to make sure that if there are individuals who either, as some clubs are allowing, each member to decide, do they want to join USA Curling? Does that negatively impact a club's ability to be covered in case of any incidents, whether, individually medical incidents for an individual who has signed a waiver, come on the ice, gotten hurt, isn't a member USA Curling, or anything else that may, result in a general liability inquiry if not every single member is a member USA Curling. Just want to make sure I have that right.
Yeah, so I think Craig Perry. Craig, are you still on? Because
yeah,
Craig
I'm on. I can.
Craig's worked on insurance, but go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, so we have a new insurance company that we're working with, and that document, I apologize, we were to remove it because we have new information that's going to be posted hopefully this week.
Okay.
But the general liability insurance policy provides the liability for USA Curling and its member clubs. So anything that happens from a liability perspective in your facility will be covered under general liability. And so then the participant accident insurance is a value-added membership. So anyone who becomes a member of USA Curling, activates the participant accident insurance, and that would be insurance that would cover them for any type of injury that would occur in the curling or participation area of your facility.
Okay, so in other words, if somebody does not join USA Curling, that individual is not covered while participating in a curling activity at our member club or at our facility or any facility that we run an event at.
Tim, go ahead. But to my understanding, they don't have the individual participant liability, right, Craig? But the club is still covered under general liability.
Yeah, so the participant accident insurance covers any injury that they might incur while participating in your playing area. If you do a learn to curl or you do anything where it's a walk-in for a day, the general liability insurance will cover anybody under that. But the accident participant insurance is basically a membership value add.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so that's different from the previous document where it does say all USA member curlers also covers 1 day, 3 to 4 week beginner league learn to curl participants and anyone who steps on the ice. So, with a signed waiver. So even though somebody may have signed the waiver, come on the ice, they get hurt, they're on their own.
If they're not a USA Curling member, for that, but the club is protected from anything as well, right? So if the club runs a learn to curl and somebody gets hurt, the club has the same protections before. The policy is really basically unchanged in many ways, except there's some lower deductibles and a few other things that make it better than it was in the past.
Yeah, but the general liability, the general liability policy it provides better coverage than previous, but it is basically the same with a lower deductible and aggregate up to $3 million for the club instead of $1 million on an incident. And then the participant accident insurance is generally the same. However, it has a lower deductible, and it also has an excess aggregate that takes it up another $1 million from the previous policy. So we've lowered the deductible and increased the coverage for members on the participant accident, and we've lowered the deductible and increased the total liability available to member clubs.
Okay. What's that new participant accident deductible for me? And that's all I've got for now.
$500. Used to be $1,000.
Yep. Wonderful.
And so on the participant accident, if they have primary health care insurance, the participant accident insurance can come in as secondary. So if they say had a major knee injury and a knee surgery and they had a bill of $40,000 and they had $5,000 left out of pocket, they pay the $500 deductible and the rest is covered. If they don't have primary coverage, then this participant accident insurance can come in as primary.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, that's all I've got for now.
I'm going to throw it over to Phil because I know you're running up against your game time, Phil. So go ahead.
Great, thank you. I'm about to leave. I just have two quick things. One, it would be great if you guys could put out some scenarios for the insurance coverage. For instance, if you have a learn to curl, this is what's covered if the person gets injured, or is it just the club? But just some scenarios that would show us exactly what would happen with, whatever scenarios you could think of. And that was just a comment there. The second one is a question that Lauren may have already answered. I'm not completely sure, but here's a scenario. My wife joined as a competitive member, and we recently submitted our roster, which she is also on that. Do you take note of the overlap and eliminate her from the reported roster, or I just want to make sure that we don't get charged twice for individuals like that?
So I pull a report every time I do a roster of anybody who has an existing membership from that club. If that membership started on July 1st or after, then they're considered a prepaid member and we don't invoice the club for that member. So if you bought a membership in November or October, then you're set. You don't have to, your club won't be charged. If your club is providing USA Curling dues, your club won't be charged for that person.
If we had more
Thank
time.
you, everyone, and I'm off onto the ice.
Good luck, Phil.
And Phil, here's your answer. We are going to be doing a webinar. In fact, I probably talk to our insurance company 2 or 3 times a week right now. Yesterday, told them that our board would like to do a webinar, and we will have scenarios. We're just working on all the final details and should have those out soon.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Phil. I think if we had more time, I'd get Lauren to show a screenshot of the invoice because I think they're kind of awesome. So they do show if your club, when your club gets it, or if you've already seen one through your club, it does go into that detail on every one. Prepaid shows the individual rebate member club fees. It's so good even I can understand it. So that's impressive.
I've also been including a spreadsheet of all the prepaid members so that clubs know specifically which of their members have prepaid.
Does anybody have any club treasurers who have struggled with the invoices or anything? Great. Looks like Jeff Annis has his hand up.
Yeah. So as some may know, we're hosting senior men's nationals at Heather in Minnesota. And last time we hosted it, a team came with a skip that had a concussion and was actually out the entire event. And so they grabbed a local, someone actually from the neighboring town to join their team, and we were able to get them joined and stuff. How is this going to work now if we had to do that this time with that extra $100, making sure that they're paid the competitor's fee? And you know what I'm saying, as far as, if someone flies in and I don't know, I hate to say the word even COVID, but gets something or gets hurt or whatever it might be, where we need to have a substitute, but they only had 4 people and they can have a 5th. How does someone go about that?
Well, they could always upgrade online, right, to competitor membership if they're not.
So they would have to do that.
Yeah, and then we should be able to add them to the team if the team hasn't registered 5, right? So that's why we always discourage teams from registering 5 players in case they have to add somebody.
Right. So then we just have to make sure that person upgraded.
Yep.
Online and became eligible, and I don't know if we'd have to make sure that was clear with everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
I just was just wanting to know because we didn't have that before. We just had to make sure they had paid dues and were.
Yeah. So yeah, so just so everybody knows, a competitor membership is required to compete in any national championship, sanctioned playdowns and qualifier events. Apart from, we don't make the people going in 5 and under Bonspiels, even those who are trying to qualify for 5 and under nationals, we don't make them get a competitor membership. And that's a conscious decision based on the fact that those are some of our newest curlers, and we don't want to discourage participation in 5 and under Bonspiels in any way, even though our experience with that 5 and under set has been pretty great, and most of them really want to get to nationals. So they do want, in fact, some of them asked why they weren't allowed to weren't getting a competitor membership. So, and by the way, if you want to get a competitor membership and pay us the extra money and you don't even plan to compete, we're all for that. So I will say that that's perfectly allowed. So, but yeah, so that's the answer there on competitor memberships if people ask about them.
Right. Thanks.
I'm going to go to, it looks like maybe Mike was his last hand up. Mike first, and then Kim, and then Craig.
All right, thanks, Dean. Mike O'Brien from Superior. Follow-up question on the insurance. We're planning to host an outdoor bonspiel off-site from our club. Would we still have coverage under that insurance policy for that?
Wow, he comes in with a hot, tough one. I'm going to throw that to Craig, and you might have to defer, Craig. I don't know.
No, actually, we've had some like that where curling clubs are using different sites, and so your original cost of your certificate of insurance covers your physical club that you have. So if you are going to be hosting an event at a site other than your physical property right now, you would need to just reach out to me, and then we can get you a certificate of insurance to cover your event at that other site. Or we can build it into your certificate of insurance that says it covers the Superior club, or covers your club, and then we can also add that site as part of your original certificate of insurance.
Kim.
Okay.
Kim Swanson. Thanks, Mike.
I'm Kim Swanson from Owatonna Curling Club in Minnesota, and I just had a question on membership with respect to board members. Have some board members that have decided to join as individual members, but some are on the fence, and we've always used like the Safe Sport certification through our memberships. So is it required that all board members are members, or how will that work?
Well, we require board members of member clubs to be Safe Sport certified, right? So, you know, that would be, I guess, the thing there. I guess, you know, they could go out and get Safe Sport training on their own, but they're going to pay for it at least as much or almost as much as they will for their membership. So, I guess that would be, and that's not us trying to, you know, bully people into becoming members, but as an NGB, we're required to do things like that, and that's one of them. So we do require board members of clubs to be Safe Sport certified. I would suggest the easiest way to do that is through USA Curling, and you know, and it's as affordable as anywhere else. So.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. Craig Fisher from Fort Wayne. How are you doing, Craig?
Doing well, Dean. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Question on timing of the upgrade to competitive membership. I think our guys, there's a group of ours that wanted to compete in club playdowns. They felt that they needed to have their memberships done by November 30th for playdowns. Or so, do you have to have it at the start of the year, or just have to upgrade to competitive membership before registration or at the time of registration?
So I can let Lauren speak to this a little bit, but you know, one of the things that happened this year in the transition was we didn't have rosters, so people were trying to register for some of the early events, which did create problems. I think that gets easier in year two, but I'm sure Lauren has identified some other challenges with that, but, I don't know, Lauren, if you want to cover that.
Yeah, there's no requirement to have a competitor membership by any deadline other than registration for the competition that you're trying to go to. So if you've decided, if your registration closes in January and you decided in December that you wanted to become a USA Curling member and then also register, then you can buy USA Curling membership in December for your January registration.
Okay, I guess they may have had a misperception after speaking with you about the timing, because
I'm sorry.
They called somebody who was in Vegas at a conference saying you have to do it today, otherwise you can't register for playdowns.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No worries. He got it done. He was sober enough.
Just so everybody knows, if in your club, if you hear about people with those kind of situations, like we had some people who are trying to register for seniors that were having some challenges. And what I told them was, look, send an email of your intent to register, right? You want to register for that event, and we're going to honor those, especially in this year. We're not going to be holding someone out of a competition because they were struggling with upgrading at the time. So now, ideally, we get to a place where it's happening smoothly and nobody's that concerned about it. But if you have people like that, please tell them not to be afraid to reach out. And Lauren does a great job explaining it. So I sometimes these things just get, as a senior myself and frustrated by technology sometimes I get a little behind on it, but please let anybody know that they can always reach out to us. Especially, I know sometimes people get nervous because a registration deadline's coming up and they want to be in an event, and I understand that. So if people are reaching out saying, hey, we really want to be in this and we can't make it work, we'll make it work. If it works a day or two later, that's not going to keep you out of an event.
Great, thanks, Dean and Lauren.
Yeah, I think I was trying to see if there was anything in the chat. I'm interested too, if anybody has just ideas on and we don't have to share them, get into them right now, but since this is a large group, I outlined how I think we'll try to have agendas set a couple weeks before and we'll probably set up somewhere where people can suggest topics, etc. We'll have a forum where people can provide that. We'll have the teams, so hopefully by the time we get to the meeting each time, we're ready to go and people are on the same page about what we're talking about. So and feel free in advance of the meeting to surface issues you're finding in your club like you are right now. Chris Lisney wants to play in the Superior Outdoor Spiel. Mike, sign him up.
Go to our website and sign up.
All right. And again, as in this role, if you getting a bunch of questions about, do I need a competitor membership to be in a 5-and-under Bonspiel? And now you've all had a direct response, and we tried to put that out there. But if you get questions you don't have answers for, feel free to reach out to us. I would much rather have more questions like that coming from this group than people in clubs, not getting the right information. So.
Dean, Matt's got his hand up.
Oh, hey, Matt, how are you?
Hey, Dean, doing good. How about you?
You got any articles coming out?
No.
No?
I've been too busy with club stuff, but I do want to get back into it.
All right. We have a content, before you go, we have a content platform now too, where we'll be happy to repurpose some of your articles because I enjoyed them.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yes. Have to update them for the times though. Yeah, so I don't have anything specific, but I know I've asked you in the past, what this club council is going to be about and what the mission is and things like that. And I just kind of wanted to also say, we've got a lot of, leaders and clubs in this meeting. So I think it's going to be a really good resource. And like you said, you want this meeting to be no more than an hour. I agree as well. There's also leaders here that are not here because maybe they play on Wednesdays or something like that. So is there some way that this group could potentially communicate between meetings? Like if I think of something tomorrow and say, oh, geez, I forgot about that. Could we set something up like that? And, I tend to like working not so much in meetings, but so much over emails. That way I've got it down. I don't forget what I said. And that way clubs can, share those ideas and share those challenges that we all have. Maybe this club does something good, this club doesn't do it so well, and they get some help. I'd love to see some type of like mail group set up where we can all kind of communicate between meetings.
Well, as much as Microsoft frustrates me at times, we will set up a team for this group like we did for the Arena Club working group. If that's problematic, we'll figure out something else. But I'd agree with you. I think that would be great. I think everybody would prefer to do work offline rather than spend hours in meetings. So we'll set up that team. We'll see how that works. If we need a different forum, yeah, I know Phil likes Slack and just everybody likes something other than Teams, but we are in the Teams platform. It has, Lauren, it's worked pretty well for the Arena Club working group. That's not as big a group as this, but I think it could work well for us. So I would rather, and I like Slack quite a bit and Discord, but just because we have so many other things in Microsoft 365 that I'd love to keep it in there if we can. So we'll start with that. If everybody's like, I can't stand, Phil says he's not anti-Teams, he lives in Seattle, but if everybody's too frustrated by Teams, we'll look for another forum. But on that note, like within the team, you'll be able to add a file. You'll be able to, you can do quite a few things within the team. And then I would see this group too as generating some good material for our content platform. I don't know how many people have spent any time on that, but we want to continue to evolve that and expand it. It's never meant to be sort of a static thing. And there's a lot of information in there about club operations already, but I'd love to just add more and more. So 100% agree with you on Matt on meetings. I think a lot of best thinking happens outside of meetings. So.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing is if you hear from a club and they say, oh, we didn't know about this club council, we don't have a rep, please tell them there is a form where we can, where they can keep adding. Because I think as of Monday, there were only, I don't know how many we have on here now, how many clubs are represented, but we only had 40 clubs had submitted reps. So my hope is, there's the content platform. My hope is that, as we get these things going and all of you and then your club sees it's a benefit that other clubs will want to have reps as well. Ryan, I think, go ahead. Oh, Ryan. I don't know you yet, Ryan, but Ryan, I don't know how to say your last. Oh, you're muted, Ryan. That's what I usually do in staff meetings.
Oh yeah, I wasn't talking. Sorry, I clicked the button and was just interacting with my 3-year-old.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, honey. Yeah, I was just trying to find Mike O'Brien's email because we also have an outdoor Bonspiel we're hosting in Phillipsburg, Montana.
Oh wow!
Sold out in 4 minutes first year. Sold out in 2 minutes this year.
Jeez.
But yeah, Mike, I don't know if you could post that or Dean or somebody could get me his email, but we'd like to get that information on kind of adding our club's coverage offsite.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, so that's with Craig. Yeah. So.
Oh, sorry, Craig.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows too, if you ever do need to connect with somebody at USA Curling, if you go to our site, all staff emails are on there. So.
Gotcha.
And we've tried to do some little write-ups to make it clear who should be contacted about what. So as not that you can't contact any of us, but we're not that big, but it might be, faster if you get to the person with the best answer.
Hey, Dean, on the certificates of insurance, I just want to share a couple things with everybody too, is the former process and the current process would be you contact USA Curling, we confirm that you're a member club, we reach out to the insurance group, and then they send you the certificate of insurance. We'll know by the end of the week on a streamlined process where you'll be able to go to our website, request a certificate of insurance. It'll go automatically to our insurance company. And then within 48 hours, you'll have the certificate delivered straight to you. So we're trying to speed up that process and make it simpler for everyone as well. But again, look for details probably the middle of next week with all the finality of the new process.
That'd be great. Yeah, we're hosting that Groundhogs weekend in February, so still 6 weeks out, but rapidly approaching.
Yep. And on the rare occasion when we have an emergency, we did one last week in about 12 hours. But just know with our company, normally they're going to need 48 hours advance notice minimum.
So on that note, we are hoping, we do think this new provider, if anybody's reported an accident or an incident in the past, we think this new provider will provide an elevated level of service. So we'll see how that goes, but we're confident that we have a provider who will up the level of service. Jim.
Hey, one quick one maybe discussion, but I guess first I noticed, and it was mentioned earlier about the agenda was in the invite, but I haven't been able to track it down in there. So I'm not sure I got the same invite. So hoping we can.
I will say our board chair called me before the meeting to say, where's the agenda? And it is in there, but it's not. I think in the future we'll do a mass email, or we'll put it in the Teams or another way. It is in there, but I think sometimes it can be a little tricky to find. So, including for me, I've struggled to find them in the past. Anybody else have trouble with it? But if you go under show join info, you'll see that there's an agenda in there. But go ahead, Jim. Second, it's another question maybe too.
Second one I know is very strongly concerning for our club, and I'm sure a few others that are on the newer side. Obviously, we opened a couple years ago, you're well aware, and we've been approached multiple times to host events for either our region or for the national organization. And we have yet to really receive an offer or a proposal that meets the needs we have to sort of break even on a daily basis to host an event and cancel our programming for up to 7 or 8 days. Is there any work being done to see about potentially creating a better reimbursement plan for the clubs so that hosting an event doesn't actually hurt the clubs as much as it does help them?
So, I mean, that's a big question. I'll give you the idea is that it's what we pay to be in a club on its own is not going to be enough for most clubs, right? So, and I certainly have no issue with a club saying, hey, this just doesn't make sense for us right now. Obviously, one thing we are trying to do is work with clubs from over a number of years for some of our national championships. We have 2-3-year deals with clubs. They get better running it. We become better partners to them. Everything goes a little more smoothly. So in terms of your question of, is there a plan to pay clubs more to be host sites? I think that goes back. That's part of a larger question of, how do we generate more revenue for this organization so that we can do things like that? And that's an ongoing effort. It will always be an effort at USA Curling. What we are doing with host sites for our national championships is working really hard with the clubs to generate additional revenue as much as possible. So whether that's through, a split on merchandise sales, we'll run auctions, we'll, we've done vaccination clinics at host clubs to try to generate more money. Actually, that's been pretty significant, actually. So I think that, it's easy to say, oh yeah, we can just pay more money, but we also have budgets, et cetera. So ideally what we do is we make these events something that people really covet and want, and see as a revenue opportunity. I know, we had seniors at Granite in Seattle last year, Phil Shryock's club, and that's a club that can generate untold millions, right, Phil, in group rental in revenue. But I think in the end, they were pretty happy with hosting that event and, certainly made revenue, maybe not as much as if they'd had Amazon for a whole day. But, what we don't want to do is we're making a real conscious effort, Jim, to when we bring an event to a club that afterwards the club feels like it was valuable either on the revenue side or just, primarily on the revenue side. Secondarily, was it good for the club? So, apart from just printing money for events right now, we're probably not going to raise, we're not going to be able to raise our host site fee to levels that will, make it super, where every club's like, oh, we want to get that revenue and do an event. But we do work very hard with clubs to make sure that the events are positive for them, revenue and spiritually. I mean, I would say,
Dean, haven't the draws been reduced too, so that they're not so many days? There's not too many events that are 7-8 day events anymore.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We don't have, when we're in a club, we're not in them for 7-8 days. We've gone we're trying to standardize draws across the board. So that means, even like Club Nationals is now, it's a larger field, but we do 2 pools. And quite frankly, there's not a lot of clubs that can host some of these larger national championships because a lot are ideal on 6 sheets or more. We have some that work well on 4, and I would say the mixed fours the mixed fours nationals could actually work on 3 because it's 12 teams and 2 pools of 6. So yeah, and Brett brings up a good point because there's been even pushback on that in terms of some people like the idea of a whole week for Club Nationals, and it felt like, and now we've made it shorter, and in our opinion, that makes it more accessible to more people and more accessible to more clubs. But there's people on both sides of that. But I don't see us moving back to where Club Nationals is a 7 or 8 day event, for instance. Amy.
Hi. Can you talk more about the vaccination clinics and how they've been received? What's the public thinking of that? Have you gotten a lot of attendance?
Yeah. So for people who don't know, and I think it was in the email that went out today, a little more explanation again, but we were approached by USA Boxing. So oddly enough, the 5 NGBs are boxing, fencing, karate, judo, and us. So there was federal grant money to an anti-aging group that wanted to offer vaccinations around the country, and they reached out to boxing as an NGB that could coordinate that at their events, and boxing fanned it out to 4 others. So what happens is there's an event fee that we split with the host club, and you could ask Eveleth or Frogtown did one, and it went well, and then we reimburse the club once we get paid by USA Boxing. But in terms of participation, it's been all over the map. But I will say that the Mikulski Health Force that's overseeing this, I think in an email to me today, they said that we're the star NGB so far in terms of just events we're doing them at and numbers we're getting. I think the record for number of vaccinations was at Seattle Granite this past weekend. But just to be clear, they don't come in. What the club has to do is relatively minor. You have to provide a table, put out some materials, and just so you know, it's not like this group comes in and runs around telling everybody they have to get vaccinated. There's education materials. If people want it, they can get it, but it's not a hard sell. Because I know that can be, that can become contentious as well. So it's, in my experience, when it was in Eveleth, it really wasn't a hard sell. If you wanted to get vaccinated, you could. And then a number of people did there. I did. But so they're doing COVID, flu, and I think in Seattle they did that RSV or whatever as well. But Jim, go ahead. You have your hand up. Jim McMahon from Frogtown.
Yeah, we had it during our Pride Spiel back in November there, and it went over super well. Ran out of vaccine. We had so many participants, not just folks curling in the event, but a lot of folks that came in to watch, and a couple community members as well that came in off the street. So it went over real well. So good job on that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when we waded into it, I was worried if it was going to be a distraction and too much work for us, but the work has been pretty minor, and the revenue has been significant. So. We're coming up right at 8:57. Yeah. So if you're, by the way, just so you know, if you want to take this back to your club, if your club is interested in hosting one of these, just reach out to us, and then I will connect you with Mikulski. It's Mikulski Health Force is the group that's overseeing it. And we're going to run them at our nationals in New Jersey. We'll have it. But then we're also, initially, they sort of made it seem like it would only be at our national championships and things. And then I said, well, we have member clubs that do events every weekend. So that got them pretty interested. So I think we're going to do one in at the Bay Area Club. We're hoping to do it. They were trying to get it together for this weekend, but I don't think they are. So it might be during the MOPAC playdown. Mixed playdown, I think. So. And we take care of USA Curling. We're doing the invoicing and there's a small report we have to do, but it's not a ton of work. I'm missing some stuff in the chat as we come up on the hour here, but I'll quickly have a look if there's anything in there. Trevor, go ahead.
Yeah, Dean, I'm from Utah. Well, we used to be formerly the Utah Olympic Oval Curling Club, but now we're the Utah Oval Curling Club. I just wanted to say thank you for the process or the setup that we had to get a clinic. So we had Becca Hamilton come out to our club this past August, and it was a wonderful experience to have her come out. We had, every seat full. We had people sign up really quick. I'm not sure how the sponsorship worked and all of that, but I just wanted to say whatever process we set up, was wonderful, because trying to raise money to have somebody like Becca come out and do a clinic has been amazing. So I don't know if there's anything else to add to that, but just wanted to say thank you for that process, and having her come out and do that.
Well, appreciate that. I will say if you run into a guy named Bill Peskoff anywhere out curling, he's the one who made a really substantial donation to us that eliminates any upfront costs for clubs. Now, if you do that program, as you know, Trevor, we do try to capture some revenue from the clinic itself, from participants, to try to keep that fund sort of perpetuating. But it was really Bill Peskoff, who's a former U.S. senior national champion, a great guy, and he was the one who put the money towards that. So I'm glad to hear it went well. It's gone well at just about everywhere we've done it. And I will say too, the athletes who've gone out to those come back super positive about the efforts of the clubs. And, it's a bit of an eye opener for some of them when they see what arena clubs, for instance, have to go through just to get on the ice. So great stuff. There is a question in the chat about, do participants at USA Curling events pay an entry fee? And I think Lauren answered that to some degree, Jeremy, but so when it's a regional playdown, it's $25 because you're registering through us. That used to be, we've reduced that significantly. It used to be $150, which is now only for the nationals fee. So nationals fees are $150 if you qualify, but if you're in a regional playdown, it's $25. So even if you look at having a competitor membership plus the fees, you're paying less than you were before when it was $150 plus $34. So I might have butchered that answer. So if you need more information on that, Jeremy, follow up with me. So we're right at 9:01. So I'll see if nobody else has any questions, we'll call this the first meeting, and look for that invite to the Teams group. We'll try using that. We'll make sure that we have an agenda out. And I think we can look at this as the second Wednesday of every month. And certainly, I'm going to be in all of these. Oh, yeah, sure, Jeremy. So Jeremy's question is about, is there not enough to cover the ice rental costs? It's a good point, Jeremy. I'll quickly touch on this. The regions can charge what they need to run a playdown, and can put that money back to the host club. But I guess the point is, it's always, there's some give and take whenever you're hosting a championship. We're trying to make it so that our properties are valued by clubs and that they want to host them. So, yeah. So anyways, though, we'll get out the, we'll set up teams, submit thoughts for the next meeting. We'll try to make this the second Wednesday of every month. I think we just stick with that. There may even be times when, for instance, if I'm on a plane somewhere, maybe I can't be at it, but my goal is to be at every one of these, but we'll make them happen no matter what. All right. With that, I think we'll wrap it up unless somebody else has another question. Again, really appreciate everyone's time and definitely appreciate, I know that all of you do a lot in your clubs. And, you know, again, if, as Matt said, if in between there's a question that comes up at your club and you're not sure what the answer is, feel free to reach out to us. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Dean. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.